Welcome to your Weld County School District 6 School Board meeting. It's Monday, February 22nd, 2016, and this meeting will now come to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt,
Present.
Mr. Haefele,
Present.
Mr. Hall,
Present.
Mr. Lydiak,
Present.
Ms. Pappas,
Present.
Dr. Richard,
Present.
Mrs. Solis.
Present.
7 members are present.
The next item is the Board of Education President announcements, and I have a couple things to throw out. One is the College Goal Sunday adventure that many people in the community participated in to get kids the opportunity to sign up and fill out applications and do other activities associated with the step after high school and going on into the next level. And we'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and High Plains Library, the ACE program in the city of Greeley, the Community Foundation, Weld County offices in general, and our own Success Foundation. And I think they pick up on the part of our little mantra of engage, empower, and inspire by really being an inspiration for our community and also assisting in the empowerment of our students going on to the next level in their education. We also have the opportunity to recognize new employees of the district, and of course we're always thrilled to have new high-functioning individuals to come and teach at our schools and serve our schools as support staff. But a couple of folks I want to pay attention to are 2 new principals, Mr. Matt Thompson, who is not new to Dos Rios, but is our selected principal for Dos Rios for next year, and then Mr. Kent Henson, our new principal at Central. And we do recognize the classified employees and the substitutes and everybody else, but those 2 individuals we certainly are pleased to have them step in with their leadership. The next item is a hearing of persons desiring to speak before the school board, and I do have just one individual, Ms. Brea, at this time, I think. And what we normally do with the hearing for persons desiring to speak before the board is listen, have the opportunity to hear the information that person may want to share. We, for purposes of a little bit of time control and to keep our agenda rolling, we have a 3-minute per speaker maximum. And the board doesn't usually respond directly to any comments offered from the podium, but it gives us all the opportunity to hear some things that are going on in the district. And it doesn't happen every day that I have an opportunity to see one of my recovering students from not too long ago, hint, hint, who wishes to present before the board. And once again, you're a Greeley citizen, Chris, and you can identify yourself as Chris Green. If you don't mind stepping forward, and we'll hold you to the 3 minutes, but welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. I've got 3 concerns, but 2 of them which are really highly on my heart. There's 20% of our graduates that are not graduating from high school because they get discouraged or whatever. And I have 2 children, and both of them have had illnesses. And so they've been home tutored through homebound. Obviously, during some of their diseased times, they're not able to do the schoolwork, and they have to play catch up and really work hard to get their grades in. And so they wind up becoming left behind because I cannot get one child into a summer program because she's passed over. They say they pass through all these kids through junior high. Well, if you don't give them the basics and they're short 4 classes or they're short 4 weeks of training because they've had an illness, I don't feel right to pass my child into the next grade. But they need to be put into the next grade, but they're going to be missing that 4 weeks of school. So I looked into the summer school situation, and I would ask that you too, regarding funding for situations where children that have disabilities are given that opportunity to make up those 4 weeks of school that they missed because of illness, and to even learn with the high school kids that are going to be having to be finishing up. And the funding there, I know, is very very limited. But still, I do not feel as a parent that you should exclude my child from summer school just because your policy is to pass children from junior high to high school without, going to summer school if they need that extra help. The other one, I have talked to Eric DeWitt in regards to the foreign language. It's the desire of my children to learn French, but they are in the Ingenuity program, and there's problems with boundaries. Even though I live in one boundary and not in the boundary that's closest to the Ingenuity school, the fact of the matter is that it is just a walk to the school, and it could be utilized to take a foreign class. I ask that you please look into that, because there are other high school kids that are needing that foreign language requirement that are coming up, and they're going to need to have access. And regardless of where they're placed in the district, they're in the district where Ingenuity is, which is close to another high school. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Vito Zan.
Mr.
miss
DeWitt,
a step?
I'd like to
Yes.
throw something in here. This past weekend was the Colorado State High School Wrestling Tournament, of which Greeley was very well represented. Greeley Central took second in 4A, produced one state champion, Andrew Alvarez, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, who is undefeated on the season as a freshman. That's a big deal. And we had two wrestlers from Greeley West, and I'm not sure the number from Northridge, but we were represented well, and want to give a big shout out and a congratulations to all the team from the schools and to each individual.
I'd say yes. Thank you very much. Congratulations. The next item is the work session report. Ms. Brea.
Board of Education President Roger DeWitt began the work session with open comments from board members, a review of the board calendar and upcoming events, and future agenda items. Superintendent Dr. Deirdre Pilch gave an update on her goals as superintendent, which reflect the district goals stated in the strategic plan. Mr. Bob Drake of Talmy Drake Research and Strategy, Inc. presented the results of the community survey conducted for a proposed bond issue and/or mill levy override for the district. He offered recommendations, and the board members had time for questions. Superintendent Pilch discussed the next steps, which will be meeting with the newly formed Citizens Advisory Committee. Chief Academic Officer Dr. Stacy Dattery and Director of Elementary Leadership Wes Tuttle presented an update on priority and turnaround schools. Mr. Tuttle reviewed the improvement steps identified that each elementary school on turnaround status will implement. Dr. Dattery discussed the progress of the middle schools on priority or turnaround status, specifically the implementation of the middle years program at Brentwood Middle School and the implementation of the Literacy Design Collaborative at each middle school. Executive Director of Student Support Services, Kathy Van Soest, gave an update on Engage Online Academy, which is on priority status. She discussed the steps being implemented, such as a new math program. Board members had time for questions, and that concluded the work session.
Thank you very much. The next item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Pilch.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. So first I want to share a celebration that we have. We recently received notification that we have been awarded a $150,000 grant from Colorado Health Foundation at Centennial Middle School. And really the congratulations goes to Anthony Asmus, the principal at Centennial, and his staff. And as I understand it, his office manager especially put in a lot of work here. But they developed this grant application primarily because of the barriers that keep one of their students who has disabilities from accessing their playground. And so this playground renovation for $150,000 will allow them to prepare their playground for students with disabilities. So big shout out and a thank you to Colorado Health Foundation for that. As was mentioned in the work session update, we heard the polling results from Talmy Drake today in relation to the feasibility of going for a possible ballot measure in the fall. We've been forming a Citizens Advisory Committee to inform us on the possibility, the feasibility of a ballot measure in the fall, and that committee will begin meeting this week. We have cross-representation from the community. We have community leaders, parents, business leaders, and staff. We had so many applicants that we did have to turn a few people away just to keep the team a manageable size and to have representation across all groups. So we're excited about that, and we'll begin that work very soon, and then we'll be reporting back to you all as soon as we're ready with some information for you. I want to give the rest of my time up to my colleague, Pat Otto, the president of the Greeley Education Association. I think she has some staff she would like to recognize, so she may have the rest of my time if you will allow that.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Indeed,
you.
we do.
Thank you, Dr. Pilch, President DeWitt, and members of the board. I do have quite a few starfish tonight. So first, before I do my big list, I need to recognize Camry Schweers. She is a deaf and hard of hearing interpreter that I missed at the last board meeting. I did not have her name, so I have a certificate for her that I will also get to her at Greeley Central. So my big list tonight, I'm going to have to back up and tell you how I came about this list of people. Last week I was leaving my office about 5:30, 6 o'clock, pitch black. Got to an intersection not too far from Cameron, and there was a school bus stopped, signs out, lights blinking. The intersection is pretty dark. The next thing I know, I see the monitor get off with a big glow stick, waving, checking the intersection to make sure that all the traffic had stopped, which I was very thankful of. Because I saw the kids cross the street that were going in front of me, but the kids that were going parallel to me, I didn't see. They have dark uniforms on. There's one street light on the opposite side. Had she not been out there waving her stick and I was going to turn right, I may have hit one of those kids. So it got me thinking about the drivers and the monitors that get our kids from the after-school programs home safely, and that care and that effort to just take that few extra minutes, get off the bus on those dark intersections, making sure traffic is stopped, and that the little kids, because they looked grade school age in uniforms, I'm thinking they might have been Maplewood kids, that they got across those streets and they had to go two ways. So I called Susan Floyd at Transportation. I said, how many drivers and monitors do we have doing this? And I told her what happened. So she gave me the list of the names of the people who do that route at night. And that's why they're not here tonight, because they're just finishing up their routes, doing their bus checks. So Susan asked me for a statement, and I wrote a statement for her to read to that group of people, knowing they couldn't be here. I was in awe at the care and the time that these drivers and monitors have to make sure those kids are home safe when it's dark. So here you go. Ron McNamee, Jeannie Foreman, Sherry Bracken, Esther Ramirez, Robert Dean, Rick Hauglin, Richard Ortega, Alita Padilla, Candace Johnson, Sharon Mays, Missy Gerard, Steve Hendricks, Diana Williams, Kathy Brannon, Verna Bell, Veronica Dela Cruz, Denise Diaz, and John Salas. And that's the group that Susan said consistently do this route at night. So I would like to give them a big hand, because that's a group, had I not seen it, I probably would not have thought about being shining stars and making a difference every day for those kids to get home safe.
As soon as they're safely home, somebody needs to let them know how much we appreciate their work. Thank you very much. Dr. Pilch, conclusion for you? Are we squared away?
I'm
Okay.
great.
Thank you very much. The next item is an action item. It's the approval of the agenda. That requires a motion from someone at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda, and that is also an action item. I'd be glad to hear a motion to that effect at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comment or question? Discussion? Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Brea.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. The next item under board priority is the superintendent's contract. I hope this isn't a surprise. This is an action item. It will require a motion. I'd accept that at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the superintendent's contract as presented.
Second.
Well, among other folks who might want to talk about this, I might want to just point out that in hiring our new superintendent, we indicated that we appreciated her willingness to come and give her heart and soul to our district, and was willing to come and bring about some changes and create a vision and bring it to the classrooms throughout our district, and supportive efforts for our support staff, our teachers, and our administrators. And we have identified with our original contract that there would be a 2.8% increase in your annual salary. And at this time, we've also determined as a board to add 1 year, an additional year, to the term of that contract. Not to say that there's only one more year in your contract, but in using your year so well so far, we feel we'd like to add that to the overall original contract, so that officially would end, I believe, in 2020. At this point, I'd be glad to hear any comments or questions from anyone else on the board about the contract for the superintendent. I'm not seeing any lights. Apparently, we're satisfied with your work. Have you gotten that impression from us?
I have. Thank
Very,
you.
very nice. Thank you very much for being willing to roll your sleeves up and live in our school district and do the work that you're doing.
May I comment, Mr. DeWitt, or you want me to wait
Gosh,
till
I
you're
don't
done?
know if I want to hear from you. Yes, ma'am. Please do comment.
So I didn't prepare any comments, but I do want to say that it is my pleasure to serve. It's my pleasure to serve you and the community of District 6 as superintendent of schools. And the last time you took a vote on my contract and on selecting me as your superintendent, I was watching you on television. With a whole group of my family gathered around while each of the board members spoke about the selection. And I need to tell you, I am as honored this evening, even more so than I was that evening watching you all on television. And it truly is my honor to serve as superintendent of schools here. And, you know, I am so impressed at what we've even been able to do in a few short months, and so excited about what we're going to be able to do in the long term here in District 6 for our students. It's really remarkable. So thank you to each one of you for your support and your guidance and your wisdom. And we have great things ahead of us here in District 6, and we're going to do them together.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pilch. We've discussed, we've seconded, and we've moved. Roll call, Ms. Brea?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Welcome for a few more years, Dr. Pilch.
Thank you.